Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Inside the Nest. I'm Tenny Bello, joined by Megan O'Neill, and this is a very special episode because it is Women's History Month. And what better way to kick into this month than having two women host this episode. Right, Megan?
That's right, Tenny. Women's History Month is an annual celebration of women's contribution to historical events and modern society. Each month, MSU's athletics recognizes a staff, faculty, and administrator for their support of the MSU athletics program. This month, our very own Professor Kelly Whiteside was given that honor. It's just one more on the list of growing accomplishments, including being named on the College Football Playoff Selection Committee.
It was a surprise. I got an email from the athletic department telling me that I was going to be staff/employee/faculty of the month for this month of March. So completely out of blue. And then one of my students, Cam Martin, who plays on the football team and is on the track team, they sent along a nice quote that he had mentioned about just my work with the Red Hawk Sports Network and obviously kind of my work in the classroom as well.
Professor Whiteside has been at Montclair State for 7 years, teaching a variety of topics as it relates to sports journalism while helping start Red Hawk Sports Network and the new sports communication major. She spent 14 years at USA Today writing about college football writers, Olympics, and the Soccer World Cup, as well as NHL, NFL, MLB, and the NBA. Not to mention being the first female president of the Football Writers Association of America.
The softball team lost in the NJAC quarterfinals to Stockton last season, but it was a lot more difficult than on the surface. Due to the pandemic, the softball team saw 10 of their games canceled. Turning a new leaf with COVID cooling down, players and coaches reflected on how different the seasons will be.
It was a little challenging because we had to shift a little things around for the most part, but I think overall we got through it pretty well. Playing the more games is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I think we're ready for it.
Heading into this season, the players are looking forward to getting back on the field.
I'm excited to be playing one last time with my friends and my team. I think our chemistry is good. We do a lot together on and off the field.
The team is looking forward to bounce back in a big way, and that's going to start with big impact players from last year.
I think Kayla Cosentino and Alyssa Borzan are going to be crucial to at least our hitting and our field.
Pitchers Ali Cavallero and Kayla Vellante are also returning, and Coach Elliott says to look out for Alexis Law.
Alexis Law is going to have a big year. She's ready. She kind of stepped up to the challenge pretty well as a leader, and she'll be a big key to our success.
Not to mention a big freshman class being brought in to help the Red Hawks back to the top, and one freshman looking to make an immediate impact is Sage Rizzi, who is a standout pitcher from Waldwick High School.
Sage, she's a transfer, and she is in addition to our pitching staff, and I think she's going to bring a lot of talent to that as well.
It's safe to say no matter the roster, the softball team is in good hands with how successful the program has been, with Coach Kubricka who's leading the charge. She's in her 31st year of coaching and was inducted into the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2014.
With Coach, you definitely learn a lot, and not only do you better yourself as an athlete, but you better yourself as a person.
It's a privilege to be on the team under her, and she is a very good mentor as a coach and just in life.
The team's first home game is March 17th against Cincinnati University. Their first NJAC matchup is against Rutgers Newark on April 2nd, and they face Stockton, who beat them in the quarterfinals for their last games of the regular season. So keep an eye out for those, and we'll see you on the field.
The men's and women's basketball season has finally come to an end. While both struggled early on, they found their way into a first-round bye in the NJAC playoffs, but ultimately fell short. Let's see how they did.
After a short season and a playoff game cancellation, the men's basketball team planned to reignite the momentum they had during the 2020-21 season. The Red Hawks finished last season with a 6-3 record and won an NJAC playoff game. Having advanced to the second round, awaiting a matchup against NJCU, the season was canceled, and so were their championship aspirations. Coming into this season, things didn't go exactly as planned. With a 4-5 record going into winter break, Coach Potts and the team had to dig deep to overcome this adversity, and the season turned around as swiftly as Coach Potts' aggressive 40-minute defensive style. The men's team rallied off 2 3-game win streaks and finished the second half of the season with a 10-5 record. The first win streak started on December 18th versus Misericordia, a game in which they beat the Cougars 88-67 at Panzer, and followed that with big wins against conference opponents. A close loss against NJCU could have halted their momentum, but all that doubt was cast aside after they went on another 3-game win streak, beating Kane, TCNJ, and Ramapo. Riding the momentum of their recent success, the men's basketball team made the NJAC tournament as a 4th seed, which secured them a bye in the first round and a home playoff game against William Patterson. Securing home court was great news, but the excitement would be short-lived as injuries to Greg Eck and Keon Price would rule them out for the remainder of the season. What could have been a fork in the road had become an opportunity for freshman Mike Jackson, who had come off a record-tying night against Rowan, hitting 10 threes and scoring 42 points. He continued to shine, leading the Red Hawks past the Pioneers, hitting 4 threes in the process and scoring 18 points in the team's 71-66 win. The men's team traveled to Galloway to face Stockton in the semifinals, and the results did not go the Red Hawks' way as they were defeated 92-78. Despite the loss, the season was a success. Irving Calendar made NJAC All-Second Team, Steve Bremen was an honorable mention, and Coach Potts secured his 100th win as a head coach. And on November 17, 2021, the men's basketball team scored the 4th most points in school history with 115 points. 4 players ranked top 25 in points per game in the NJAC conference: Steve Bremen, Irving Calendar, Devin Cooper, and Mike Jackson. The challenges the Red Hawks faced this season will only help the younger players on the roster, and no other player benefited more from this foundation than star freshman Mike Jackson, who finished the season with 2 NJAC Rookie of the Week honors. In his last 3 games, he scored 42 against Rowan, 18 against William Patterson, and 22 against Stockton. Mike Jackson had his best stretch of the season during the most important part of the year, which has led to optimism for the future of the program across the campus. However, next season could look a lot different with Irving Calendar leaving and the decisions of Stephen Bremen and Devin Cooper still pending. Despite the potential losses, previous events have shown us that the men's basketball team will be ready for the challenge.
After falling short in the previous 2 NJAC championship games, Montclair State women's basketball team had something to prove entering the 2021-22 season. They started off slow with a 2-4 record with their conference record of 1-3. The change of the calendar was just what MSU needed to turn the season around. They ended up winning 11 in-conference games and only lost to Rowan within that time.
Sutton on the other end gives it up top. Duffy working down low. Smith driving in, gives it to Mulligan, who lays it in.
This run placed the Red Hawks in the top 2 in the NJAC, but their winning ways were soon cut short. An intense rematch against NJCU ended the Red Hawks' streak of 8 consecutive games, which was followed by a loss at Rowan to end the season.
And the clock will run out. A big victory here for NJCU puts an end to an 8-game Montclair State winning streak. 59-55 is the final.
After losing both games, the team finished with 3rd seed in the NJAC standings, giving them a bye in the first round and a home quarterfinal rematch against NJCU. This would be the end of the road as NJCU's Damaris Rodriguez would shatter the hearts of Montclair State with a game-winning buzzer beater.
Here we go, the season for NJCU. They get it into Rodriguez, working baseline floater, it's good!
Oh my God! Oh my God! Wow!
When it comes to key players of the year, Nikki Carter was a standout. She made NJAC All-Conference first team and set a career high in points with 34 against Rutgers Newark. Trisha Peterson joined Carter in NJAC accolades by being named Defensive Player of the Year. Her 9 rebounds per game led the team, and she was also 4th in conference in blocks. Other key players include Julia Sutton, who averaged over 10 points a game, and assist leader Kendall Hodges. Basketball is a team game, and MSU had some great team numbers this year. The team averages 55.3 points allowed per game, tied for least given up in the conference. They also only allowed 23% of threes in games, the best in conference. However, their 6-6 record at home is the worst by a women's basketball team in 20 years. The season did not end the way that Coach Harvey and the Red Hawks would have wanted, but this year featured a strong regular season which MSU will look on to build in the future.
Those 5 seconds do not define all the hard work the players and coaches put in.
That's so true, Tenny. Speaking of hard work, I got a chance to speak with Katie Syre, who had her fair share of great moments on the court for Montclair State. She continues to make an impact now as an assistant coach for the women's basketball team. As one of the greatest players in program history, she did not want her legacy to stop there. Although she doesn't star on the hardwood anymore, she now shares the sideline with her former coach, Coach Harvey, hoping she can help lead the Redhawks to the heights that she once reached. Katie Syre has such an impact both on and off the court for Montclair State. Syre has shown she could be a key asset, whether that is playing with her team in 2018 to now being on the sideline, running plays with her former head coach, Karen Harvey.
Yeah, so transferring from a player and having that impact with Coach Harvey when I was playing as to now as an assistant coach, kind of developing a whole new role. You know, it's been a ride. It's very different from playing days to coaching days. It really is 2 totally different things. And as much as I love reliving and rethinking about our playing days, you know, my role has really transitioned into assistant coach, taking some of my player experiences and some stuff I learned from being a part of the program as a player, and now I'm trying to kind of transform it into how can I help as an assistant coach, and you know, how can I bring those things that were successful back then to the sidelines and kind of help those players now. No, that's funny. Me and Coach Harvey, mannerism, pretty similar, and I think it took us like a year of like working together. Obviously, a player and coach relationship like then was different than now a coach to coach, because we spend a lot of time recruiting together, long weekend trips, we spend every day in the office together, so we kind of started over and started building a different side of our relationship, and it took us probably like a year to realize like we're very, very similar. We're similar in terms of like how we handle things and how we feel about things, and a lot of our coaching like ideas and methods and styles are very similar. So that's actually funny. I've never heard someone say that we have the same mannerisms, but we have heard a lot from other people, colleagues and just friends, that we do kind of relate to each other and are very similar in a lot of ways.
For Coach Harvey and Coach Syre, both being very similar, whether that is in the office or in games, they both have a bond that is unbreakable.
Someone like Katie Syre take over and maybe I'll be her assistant for a little while. I think that would be pretty fun. It's amazing, actually. I love her to death. I loved her as a player. We had a great relationship as a player, and now to coach with her, it's just, I feel very fortunate, very grateful.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We talk about every day almost rebuilding the legacy that she's created and that I, helped as a player create. And we're trying every day to get back there and win those championships and have that same culture that we did. And I couldn't be any more grateful for the opportunity that she's given me, bringing me back to Montclair and just everything that she goes above and beyond for me for, and how much she teaches me and how much she allows me to be involved and how much responsibility she gives me. It's really like, I'm truly grateful, and it's such a great experience here. And I look forward, I hope that we can get our program back to that legacy that she created a couple years ago.
Talking with Syre, you can see her love for the team and sport really showed through her coaching. Syre and her impact for the women's basketball team will not go unnoticed. Now moving on to another icon for basketball here at Montclair State, Irving Calendar IV. The power of sports can be something transformative. It's important as a community that we reflect and appreciate what athletes give to their sports. Calendar has been a pillar of leadership and success in his years as a Red Hawk. The past 2 seasons, he has had success while dealing with one of the toughest situations anyone can face.
Leading the way for the Montclair State men's basketball team this season was the graduate senior, Irving Calendar IV. He led the conference in rebounds per game with 8, and his 14.5 points per game put him right near the top of the NJAC in that category as well. However, the number that mattered most was the 1 on his chest. Calendar started his Red Hawk career in 3, then switched to 4 for his sophomore and junior seasons. His final move to 5 wasn't inspired by Jason Kidd or Kevin Garnett, but rather a legend in his eyes and many others around the state.
Number 5 means a lot, not just to me, but to my family. You know, my father wear number 5, and high school his number retired. And when I was younger, I wanted to wear number 5 also, honestly. But my father, he said, you know, you could be your own person. You could choose your own number, choose your own legacy.
What you realize as a coach is how valuable little things can be, you know, and some people would say, wow, it's just a number. You know what I mean? But I think for him, that was a way to have a piece of his dad with him every day he steps on the floor. And I also think it was a way to honor him and say, you know, this is something that means a lot to me. I want to make sure I carry on that legacy of wearing that number. And I think there was no better way to try to do both those things, to honor his dad and also have a little bit of piece of him with him when he's on the court.
Calendar's father, Irving Calendar III, had become a widely respected figure in the Newark community. He was a standout basketball and football player at Shabazz High School, and after breaking numerous school and state records and having his number 5 retired, he ended up continuing his football career at Montclair State University. He lived a life of service, spending 23 years as a Newark police officer and an aide to the mayor's office. Despite having a different number growing up, Calendar IV wanted to be just like his father in every other way.
I wanted to basically be him, like he was my superhero. Everybody used to praise him, used to love him. You know, I just looked up to him at that. And from a young age, I wanted to play football because that was his main sport. I wanted to play football. But I was blessed with the height, not with the width. So, you know, I wound up transferring over to basketball, and he was fine with that.
And it paid off, as Irv would have the opportunity to follow in his father's footsteps at Montclair State on the hardwood rather than the turf. However, in the summer leading up to his senior year, tragedy struck. Unexpectedly, Calendar III passed away due to complications that arose from the coronavirus.
It was pretty tough, you know, but I have a huge family and a great support system. And, you know, my father would want me to be strong, and that's what I would do. I would be strong, but my mother always told me, like, if you need someone to cry to, it's okay to cry.
You could tell about how strong their family is, and you could tell the way Irv carries himself around us, around the team, around his little brother and his mom, that, you know, you could tell that they're a really close-knit and well-brought-up family, and you could really tell how strong of a family they are.
Not only did Irv have a strong support system at home, but also with his second family, his teammates and coaches.
My teammates were there right by me from the start, and Coach Pops was there from the start. He called me every other day, asking me how I was doing, how's the family doing.
The way we try to run our program, we run it like a family. So immediately it was, all right, I got to find a way to get a hold of them, and just trying to get them to understand that, hey, we're here.
For Calendar, the basketball court became a place of solace as he dealt with one of the biggest challenges anyone can be faced with.
Basketball is just my getaway, you know, just take my mind off things, you know, and I have a purpose, I have a why, and that's why I'm exceeding and excelling in basketball right now.
In February, Irving Calendar IV played his final game as a Red Hawk. The past 2 seasons, wearing number 5, he improved in just about every statistical category, finishing this past year with a spot on the All-NJAC second team. Not only did he grow on the court, but off the court as well.
He's grown as much as any guy I've been around in 22 years, and that is not just a coach speak statement. He's a guy that has really raised his level. I think that's a lot of hard work that he put in, but I think there's a little bit of somebody looking down saying, hey, let's make sure this gets finished the right way for him. So I think his dad's definitely smiling down and understanding how far he's come. And as I told Irv, you know, the greatest thing you can be as a son is be something that your dad's proud of. And I think without a doubt, his dad's super proud of the man that he's developing into.
An uplifting end to a powerful story, Irv will definitely be missed here at Montclair State.
After the break, the Red Hawks will be home for all of their games this week. Men's lacrosse plays Misericordia University March 16th and Lycoming College on the 19th. Meanwhile, the baseball team take on Eastern University on Wednesday and have a doubleheader against Manhattanville College on March 20th. Also on Wednesday, women's lacrosse will face off against Stevens and then play Moravian University on March 19th. And finally, softball has a doubleheader against Centenary University on March 17th, and then they'll play Hunter College on March 19th. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok for your latest RHSN news.
Now that we're back in town, it's looking like a full week of action for our Red Hawks.
It sure is, Megan. Happy to be back, and I can't wait to see how these teams finish out this year.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Tenny. That's all we have on this episode of Inside the Nest. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and TikTok for your latest Red Hawk Sports Network news. That's Tenny Bello. I'm Megan O'Neill, and we'll see you next week.